Scott, thank you very much. Let me do the same kind of sound check that Scott had done earlier just to make sure everyone is able to A, hear me and also see the weekly demo Q&A session screen, which is on my monitor.
Yeah, I hear you and see you good here in downtown.
Okay,
Coming through loud and clear.
thank you, sir. Brad, pleasure to have you with us today. Finally, it's been a long time.
Pleasure to be here. I see you got the date right. Way to edit that slide on the fly.
I was like, you know, card shuffler, brrr, boom, date done. Okay, let's jump right into the presentation. First of all, as standard for our Q&A sessions and really all of our presentations, is the legal disclaimer. Trade Ideas is not a registered investment advisor. We do not give any registered investment advice, and nothing in our software or in this webinar is a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. If you want specific professional advice tailored to your specific needs, please consult a registered investment professional. So some of you are new and some of you have been here before, but we always like to start with a little bit of history just so that you know, and again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but the reason why you're listening to me is I've done this for a very, very long time successfully. Since 1996, and in trading years, that means I'm like 900 years, Brad? What is that? Really, every 1 year that you can survive as an active investor is probably like 50 actual real years.
I don't know. I don't know what the ratio is, but you're definitely one of the few.
Well, I'm making it up as I go along, so it's okay. But just so that you can see, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And what you're going to see here is that we've taken all this knowledge, and by the way, I am not the only one. Mr. Brad Williams has been here investing since 1998. Almost everybody on our team has been and is a professional in the active investing community, which really separates us from almost every other vendor in the space. You know, I'm sure many of you have other financial products, but you can ask yourself, how many people that run the company are actually still actively investing? And what you'll find is very few. So that's one of the reasons why we have the kind of growth rate that we're having, is that people are relating to what we're doing. And here I'm going to give you just a quick history lesson. This is primarily for people that are new and may not know, but we are not a startup. This is not a fly-by-night thing. We have been doing this for ages. In fact, since January of 2003. In 2003, we started marketing and selling our software, the software Trade Ideas, and primarily focused on the individual investor. And then in 2005, we kind of switched and focused more on the brokerage unit. We licensed our software to E-Trade, we licensed our software to Scottrade, and they are still our customers. In fact, today, we are integrated in E-Trade and Scottrade. In fact, there's an integration of Trade Ideas inside eSignal. And as you can see here, because we focused on the institution from 2005, and you can see my mouse moving, our consumer business really became more of R&D, where we still, of course, focused on the technology, catered to the clients, but it was all so that we could provide our big brokerage customers with the best of the best. That all changed in the end of 2014 when we realized that as a business strategy, as a chess move, too much of our revenues were coming from too small of an enterprise client. In other words, E-Trade and Scottrade were accounting for so much of our revenues. We thought to ourselves, well, what happens if management changes? Or what happens if they change their mind? We don't want to be stuck in that kind of situation. And we pivoted completely at the end of 2014 and started basically as if it was 2003 again and focused on you, the individual investor. In that time, we took all of our innovation, all of our data, and this is the thing, we create all of our software from scratch. There's no overseas development. Everything you see is made by Trade Ideas from a US-based software development team that has never had any turnover. And so in 2016, we launched Holly, our artificial intelligence engine, which is a virtual analyst. In other words, Holly is like a card counter at the MIT blackjack table. She's doing things that simply are impossible for humans to do, counting cards, statistically speaking. Counting cards is a metaphor. In other words, she's tracking all the up moves, on the down moves, comparing what's happening now to what's happened in the past, and tries to recognize statistical trends that all of us can then take advantage of. And this is how fast we are growing. We are currently the fastest growing U.S. fintech subscription as a service business, bar none. So you're at the right place. One of the reasons why we are so successful is this right here, Brad. We follow our own advice. So what you're seeing here is actually Brokerage Plus, which we're going to demonstrate, but I want to just kind of keep it simple too. Notice the very top here, Brad, what do these letters WTW stand for?
That's Weight Watchers. That's also our trade of the week, isn't it?
Thank you very much. Weight Watchers was our actual February trade of the week. I don't know if it was this week. I mean, again, I don't keep up with it was it this Monday or was it last Monday? Steve Gomez is in charge of that. And again, one of our phenomenal assets in the team. But the bottom line is we follow our own advice. And this isn't paper trading, guys. This is real money. I put myself out there to show you that it can be done. You don't have to be a genius, and everybody who's heard me speak in our trading room and has been to our webinars know that there's no genius hiding here. Brad will confirm. Brad, don't confirm too quickly, okay?
No genius. The Weight Watchers was called on the 13th of February. Okay,
so Weight Watchers was called on the 13th of February, and we use, again, statistics. Not indicators, not Ichimokus or itchy and scratchies, and all these other things that vendors keep shoving down the throats of individual investors. We use this magical thing called statistics. And in order to use statistics, you have to have something that most of our competitors in fintech don't have, which is big data. So this is where I want to just quickly explain what separates us from everybody else. So let's just kind of high-level some vendors. You have Interactive Data, eSignal, Telechart 2000. You've got the trade stations. I mean, there's literally NinjaTrader. It goes on and on. There's no shortage of TradingView. There's no shortage of vendors. Okay. But what's different about Trade Ideas is the beginning. When we started, we knew that we had to do something different, and what we did was this. Instead of just, so let me explain again, high level, how do you get charts on any platform, whether it's eSignal, Realtek, or anything else that I just mentioned? Well, the vendor connects to the exchanges. The exchanges send the vendor the data. We do the same thing. Then the vendor kind of molds that data into a chart and then redisplays it to you. Okay? But Brad, what kind of data do the exchanges give us?
Well, I mean, it's generic data. It's last price, the amount of shares for the last trade, where the bid is, where the ask is.
And that's it. They might, do they even give us 52-week highs and lows? They might.
It depends. Sure. It depends on the vendor, right? It could be
right.
Data.
Well, no. But the exchange.
It doesn't come from the exchange, no.
Right. So from the exchanges, from the magic of the NASDAQ and the NYSE and all the gigantic, exchanges out there, you just get the raw data. So what we do at Trade Ideas is we don't just take that data and shove it out in your face. What we do is we collect it internally on our server farm, which is what we've been doing since 2003, and we create new data points with it, which is what I'll be showing you all throughout the actual presentation when we do the demo. So this allows us to see things that our competitors simply cannot and do not have the ability to see. So we create, like, for example, 5-minute highs and lows, 10-minute, 15-minute. We create all sorts of data metrics that we maintain ourselves in our server farm that the exchanges don't give you. In other words, you have to have server technology and store it and keep it and maintain it tick for tick to be able to do what we do. And that's the difference between us and virtually every single other vendor on the planet. Okay? And that's why you're here. You're here to see something different, something new, the next generation. That is what we're about to show you. So that's the history lesson. We're going to jump forward into the actual thing right here. So what you're seeing here is Brokerage Plus, one of our more exciting pieces of technology, which allows you to take information from trade ideas, and if you're connected and have an account at Interactive Brokers, you can trade right from our platform with your account at Interactive Brokerage. That's kind of the where we are right now today. So let me talk a little bit, again, before we jump into the software, Brad, I want to just quickly explain why this is important and why you're here and you're able to hopefully get something out of it. So in beta mode, our Brokerage Plus component is completely free for everybody who has access to Trade Ideas Premium. And I'll explain why it's linked to a premium subscription versus just basic. Right here we have a link for the number that we're using as the starting point of beta, and there's a link here also where you can just click on it and download it. And Brad, is it going to be, I'm sure Scott's already put it into the...
Yeah, it's the website is live with it. So if you go to the download button on the home page and scroll down below that, you're going to be able to download the beta.
Okay, perfect. So let us now I'm going to go into minimize this and quickly jump into actual trade ideas. So first of all, one of the things that we wanted to do was change everyone's perspective on how to really be able to maximize making money in the stock market. Notice for a minute that my charts are not littered with indicators. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have to use them, but I'm just saying as a professional, what I've learned over more than 20 years of active investing is that the traditional tools that every vendor has been shoving down the throat of every investor don't work. There is no indicator that indicates something will happen tomorrow. An indicator is a data point, and the problem with data points, not that again that you can't use them, but the more stuff you put on charts, the more stuff you have to notice and see, which is why I personally like to let the piece of evolution that we've evolved after billions of years of first crawling in the ocean and then crawling outside of the ocean and then running away from saber-toothed tigers, your eyes, to do my thinking for me. Okay? You do not need superfluous tools to make a decision, because ultimately you just have to learn to make the decision. And what we do at Trade Ideas, we help you find the things that you need to focus on so that you can take more out of the stock market. So let's take a look, Brad, real quick at what's this data point.
So that's the change over 15 minutes, how far that stock has moved over the last 15-minute period in a percentage form.
Right. So as you guys all know, if anybody happened to have watched the presidential speech yesterday, it was a phenomenal speech, huge, the best ever. Donald Trump said that we're going to be spending trillions of dollars on infrastructure. So of course, Trade Ideas, we have an infrastructure channel where you can be pointed to important pieces of information, whether it's fundamental or technical, so that you can see where you need to be focusing. Remember, he was saying yesterday that all of the construction that is going to happen, he wants it to be done with U.S. steel. By the way, there happens to be a company with that name, U.S. Steel. And look, it's been running, consolidating, and is now starting to move again, and really has no resistance. These are the kind of beautiful plays that you want to be able to see kind of unfold right in front of you. And by the way, again, this isn't a suggestion that this is a perfect thing to do this moment, but the point is seeing it in this perspective over a 15-minute percentage move and with relative volume, which no one else has either, You're only going to be able to see this information in trade ideas. You're not going to get a 15-minute % change column in other vendors' products. Simply because, again, that requires your own data. This is a derived data point. This is a derived data point. Quarterly growth, everybody has that, but we can mix that with our points so that you can see that maybe this is something that is growing and maybe is even a better opportunity than this one. Lumber, steel. It doesn't have to get super difficult. This is the thing that people often confuse about active investing, is that active investing is not sitting there creating calculus algorithms and having a bunch of quants in a room. I mean, these are memes that the world of finance and fintech wants to put down your eyes and your throats so that they can say, you shouldn't do this. Give me your money to manage it. You're too dumb. That's just simply not the case. Again, notice here, a quarterly revenue growth stock, construction, that went down today but has strong revenue growth. You can just see that and say, hey, maybe this is an opportunity. Like, this is where you can use trade ideas to see things that, again, you otherwise might not see. Now, let me explain how our clients get the most out of this information. Number one, of course, you've got all the visuals you need. This is called a pullback. Lots of stocks that run up often have what's called pullbacks. In fact, everything in the world works in waves, whether it's a light particle, a stock, our relationships, everything goes up and down kind of in a sine wave fashion. So this is a pullback, and this is yet another pullback, but it's very possible that we're very close to a support area, because right around here, notice again, no lines, no indicators, nothing but my eyes are telling me, hey, when it got here before, it turned around. So what I'm going to do is, and this is part of what Trade Ideas offers in the premium service, I'm going to right-click here and say create a price alert at, let's say, 22. And just simply say at support. And just let it be. Now, if this comes to my price level where I really like it, I'll see it, I'll be notified in Trade Ideas in real time, and I'll be able to possibly right-click and trade it the way I want to in interactive brokerage. Okay, and that is really kind of the nutshell of Trade Ideas. It's this simple. You can evaluate everything you need to evaluate in a stock in one fell swoop. So let me bring up another important thing that most people don't talk about, but simply must be understood for active investors who are looking to beat the market or simply take advantage of things that are setting up to be taken advantage of. Weight Watchers, one of the reasons why it did so well for me and for a lot of people who are in our trading room and in general, is because so many people were betting against it. By the way, this lets me segue, Brad, into this whole fascination that everybody has with crowdsourcing. Let me tell you something about crowdsourcing. Crowds suck. They're hard to get into. Everybody bumps you in a crowd. And has a crowd ever bought anybody lunch? Crowdsourcing is basically another word or name for this. I don't have any idea what's going on. Maybe somebody else does, which is all fine and dandy. But in this case, the crowd, or the smart people, were all short. And when everybody's doing one thing, that's when smart investors at Trade Ideas say, you know what? My goodness, this seems like, someone's showing you their cards. In other words, if these guys are wrong, they have no room for error. And after earnings, Weight Watchers gapped up and continued to go higher, and by the way, may continue to go even higher. There's no exact perfect science of what it's going to do, but certainly the people that are short this stock, in other words, betting against it, they are not enjoying themselves right now. They're getting margin calls, their wives are very pissed, their hedge fund clients are all asking, what are you doing, et cetera, et cetera. It's that simple. Behavior analysis and self-control is really the essence of the stock market, much more so than calculus, indicators, and any kind of magic tricks. So we also just added a new channel because, again, Trump is going to increase defense spending, so we've got the defense channel, okay? And in the defense channel, we're doing the exact same thing. We simply want to show you stocks that are, look at this downtrend, and this used to be Smith & Wesson, Brad, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's Smith & Wesson. They changed their name at the beginning of the year.
All right, so Smith & Wesson has been getting kind of annihilated, right? But we sort of take much more of the Warren Buffett approach. When there's blood on the streets, that's when we look to maybe see if there's an angle for us. So we start watching, and all you have to do is simply right-click, create a price alert, and say something that makes it memorable to you. How about breaking out on the whole number? I like to keep things super simple, the KISS principle. And that's what you should do as well if you want to succeed in the markets. If you find yourself going crazy with analysis, you're going to be have the same kind of results as more amateur golfers, which is called paralysis by analysis, and that's why handicap scores have not changed over time. I go into our trading room and I often have people ask me, Dan, you pulled up this stock, let's call it this one that I'm in. I said, you're in it, what's your price target? How can anyone know what the price target is? Because that assumes that there's some sort of future time machine that we all have access to. We don't. But if you're able to catch this move, which is, by the way, what I did here at 9:23, I want to be able to see if this can really potentially go. Why can't it go to 14? And if it goes to 14, there's a whole void here where it can really potentially turn around. There's another myth, Brad, that I want to dispel, which is the myth of day trading. Okay? Number one, day trading is a word that was invented by the financial industry to make people not do day trading. The brokerage firms, the financial firms, they hate self-directed investors because self-directed investors only pay commission fees, whereas people who give their accounts to other smart people, quote unquote, to manage, well, that's a whole different story. Now you're taking fees the way the brokerage firms want to get fees. Okay? So we want to be able to be in stocks that run for a long time. We don't have to get out of things. Active investors are active because they're actively pursuing stocks that they might not have to get out of. Wouldn't it be nice, Brad, if this Weight Watchers, because I'm in at 14.22, that I just don't have to get out of it this year? Why wouldn't that be a possibility? So that's just really to dispel the myth that every time you're in, you have to get out. The whole notion of getting out has to simply do with risk management and risk tolerance. How much can you tolerate? Is your account big enough to be able to withstand a miss? Like golf, trading is not a game of winning. Trading is a game of managing your losses. We're all going to win, but what are you going to do when you lose? And that's really, again, where Trade Ideas takes it to a completely different level. While most of you are watching my screen, and hopefully a lot of this is making sense, notice the right-hand side of this window, which is our single stock window, one of the windows that kind of lets you see the more important points having to do with the stock. Notice I've got an earnings date, so I know that OMED is going to be reporting earnings in 6 days. Very good to know. They've got quarterly revenue growth. I also like that. Had pretty decent options volume. The short float is small, so not a lot of people betting against that. On the one hand, that's I can't take advantage of it the way I did in Weight Watchers, but on the other hand, that may mean that the shorts have washed out. Maybe, while this has been going on up, since 7, the shorts have been kind of getting out of this thing. And now this is legitimate buyers stepping in. Again, I don't know, but I'm simply making the case. And here's another interesting point. With a market cap of 376 million, what do you notice here, Brad, with their number of cash?
I don't know, pal. I was answering a question.
You're so cute. Okay, well now I'm asking you the question again. So when you have a market cap of 376 million and cash of 207 million, what does that tell you?
Proportionally, they sure have a lot of cash.
Well, they're basically trading for cash almost.
You like that?
Yeah. That's again, that's how that's the Warren Buffett approach. It doesn't have to be super complicated. And here's the other thing that I said in our trading room earlier today about the whole notion of overthinking and paralysis by analysis. Each one of you here, all 102 of you, whether you're subscribers or not subscribers, the way to succeed in the market is find a size, meaning like how many shares of this can you actually hold on to. Not how many shares can you day trade. Maybe you can get in 1,000 shares, and if you're lucky to get 25 cents, you got your 250 bucks and you get out. But 1,000 is too big of an amount for you to hold overnight. Well, for me, 500 shares of this is something I feel like I can hold overnight because I can withstand the volatility. Maybe it's 50 shares for you. Maybe it's 100. Find that number, keep it close to your heart, and that number and that understanding is going to help you going forward. Because that's the number that's your comfort level. You're going to be able to then get in and not be panicked out. That's the whole key. Success in investing is not to panic. So what I'm going to do now is kind of go over some of the Trade Ideas channels. The big thing that we do different from almost everybody else is while everybody gives you more tools, we want to get you to the right thing, which means that you don't need to tinker with Trade Ideas. Although everything we have is completely customizable, right-click, configure, I can do so many things here. I can change filters, I can search for social media mentions, I can do so many things, but I don't have to, because the Trade Ideas team, the expertise that we've already built up since 2003 is embedded here. You can look at stocks that are really what we believe setting up. This was actually the one that somebody asked me today about. They said, Dan, don't you think it's gone up too much? And I said, what does that mean? I don't even know what it means, too much. Everything is relativity. Look at this beautiful move from 6 to 11. These are the things that they don't tell you about on CNBC as they keep yapping and yapping about FOMC and all the stuff that you guys have nothing to do with. Don't worry about interest rates. And they're going to come, those things are going to go. But opportunities, these moves, they happen all the time. They're just not in stocks that the media is trying to talk to you about. Of course, by the way, Randy, thank you for pointing out the term overextended. It is a relative term. If Kala Biosciences, and I don't even know what they do actually, well, they treat happen to accidentally be successful, I mean, you can add a 0 to this level. There's no overextended for the cure for cancer or Alzheimer's. That's where we're at. The stock market, ladies and gentlemen, is the currency of innovation. Your money to another guy because, again, he's taking other people's money. You're not going to get rich, or wealthy rather, robo-investing into some automated portfolio. Let me explain what that is. That's a bet on Western civilization. We all know how that's going to end. Terrible in about 4 billion years when the Earth gets swallowed up by the sun. I'm joking, but I'm not joking at the same time. What I mean is, again, the world is colluding against you because it's in their best interest, their personal best interest, to have you give money to them to manage. Whereas you guys are smart enough to be here because you're saying something's happening. I'm waking up. I'm seeing some things or I'm hearing some things that maybe make me think that there's some opportunities. There's huge opportunities in smaller names that people are not talking about. Look at the opportunities that are existing here in these names that you just don't see here or that are not covered. Let me explain about this thing called the void. Brad, do you know what the void is? This, I'm making sure you're not answering too many questions, but paying attention to me.
Yeah, the void, it's absent of price if you go historically back, right? And so in this particular case, there was a large gap down. I don't know what date that was. Looks like May of last year. And so that's an area right there that the stock's going to be magnetized towards that area.
That's right. But some bad news happened here, right? But over time, bad news is what? It's called digested. And it started, pulled way back, but look, it's back again. And these are the things that we must be aware of. And the way we are at Trade Ideas is not only do we see these stocks, but we also just simply set price alerts for them. And in this particular case, you can do a really simple big whole number break. So now I'm ready. I'm ready to see if this can do this again. Another test. Because if it does and it wins, then you could retrace this whole move. This thing could run to 12. Look at the float. Okay, something else. Brad, you know I love torturing you a little bit. Can you explain to our audience what is the float and why is it so important?
Well, the float is really the number of tradable shares that are out there in the marketplace, and this is a pretty low number. 2.3 million shares is a relatively low number, so I would call this a low float stock.
That's right. Well, let's compare this to something that everyone is aware of because they have accounts there, most likely. By the way, notice nothing wrong with being in Bank of America and having it go up, quickly. In fact, this was one of my alerts from several sessions ago. So I've done pretty well on this one. But take a look at the float here, 10 billion shares that are available. So what that means is Bank of America is designed for mutual funds, pensions funds, hedge funds, all gigantic institutions that buy millions of shares. Let me give you another perspective real quick. How about Intel, the maker of your computer most likely in mine? 4.7 billion shares. So think about this in terms of what's it going to take to move an Intel. I mean, it trades 34 million shares a day. So it takes a lot of shares to move these gigantic stocks. This is physics that most people just simply aren't even aware of. Let's pull up our good friend Facebook. Smaller, 2.2 billion, but still with a B. And of course, Apple, 5 billion. Now compare that to, and I'm pulling up all the quote-unquote FANG stocks that we actually don't trade. Now, what do you see the difference between Netflix and Apple? Look at Netflix compared to the other ones has a relatively much smaller float. Understanding this is understanding supply and demand. Okay? So when I go and see a stock like this, what do you think is going to happen if some good news comes out on this stock with 2.3 million in the float? Think of what could be happening. Let's go to that stock that I just
explained, Dan, that it's a lot easier to double this right 9 than a Bank of America. That, right?
You know, kind of think about this, things that pay attention, but consider that everybody knows But do you know that through all the statistical analysis that we have done, we found that the price-earnings ratio absolutely predicts nothing. All it is a ratio. You know, that's it. Then there's the PEG ratio. You know, they didn't like that PE was too short, so they added a G to it, make it a little bit more confusing. G style. So look at this one, back to the one that we had pulled up before. Compared to Cure, this float is pretty big, with 2 compared to 14. But 14 compared to
10 billion.
Or how about 215 million? These are the things, again, that are important to you guys, and you're here for a reason. I hope you take advantage of this information. You know, our goal here is that ultimately, and we've said this at presentations, active investors are the CEOs of their financial empire. You're not bean counters, and that's where people kind of get confused. It is not your job to siphon through financial statements, because Goldman's got, you know, A students from Harvard in a dungeon doing that already. You know, that's not for you. Your job is to allocate capital effectively, and there's no better time ever than right now. I mean, when I look at today's market, I remember, Brad, myself in 1996. I'm only upset that I was just learning things back then and didn't realize that I should have bought a little bit of Intel and Microsoft and Dell and held it. But now we're in the best market potentially in the history of the market itself. Technology is evolving in a way that you cannot even begin to imagine. And these small biotechnology companies, they are searching for the cure for cancer. You know, think about that. We're leaping technologically forward. But the man, quote unquote, in the financial media suit who wants you to sit down with him over coffee to talk about your retirement plan is really, I mean, it's basically, you know, a sleight of hand. Just give me your money. Give me. I'll give you a cup of coffee. Give me your money. Forget about that. So we've got these channels that let you surf things that are relevant to you. You want to see stuff that has good fundamentals? We've got a channel for that. And again, you can see it as it's happening. I mean, obviously you guys see we have charts, we have everything that you need to quickly analyze and make decisions. But the most exciting thing really is our artificial intelligence, your virtual analyst. Right now, Brad, what's happening right now while I'm yapping away like there's no tomorrow?
While you're yapping away, Holly is doing what she does best, and she's crunching numbers. She's running through strategies. She's looking at the data from today, looking at all the filters that are set up for every strategy and trying to optimize it.
That's right, and I'm going to explain all of that when I get to the channel. But Brad, I first want to answer Randy's question just real quick, because Randy is asking, well, I'm not sure who they are, if it's me or if it's the media. Say, forget the dollar amount, think about the percentage gain or loss. Here's the thing, Randy, there's not exactly a right answer. What it means, it's all relative to what you're doing. This is the beauty of the financial markets, and why everything you've heard about it is wrong, is this one word, relativity. Something's only cheap or expensive relative to your entry point. That's it. That is it. It's all relative to you. And to some extent, you know, you want a symbiosis between the dollar move and the percentage move. But the truth of the matter is, of course, in the smaller stocks, let me go right here real quick. In the smaller stocks, and we have a penny stock channel, of course, what you're able to see is just larger percentage moves, because that's the nature of the game. Like, look at this stock, INNV. Again, float, 2.5 million, and it went up 83% because probably, I mean, I don't follow the news, but something that they're doing obviously is working out, perhaps. Okay? So this is, I think, in terms of what Randy is saying, this is the thing. You know, if you're trading something like a Netflix, you're probably going to get a much bigger dollar move than you're going to get a percentage move. Look at this, 0.37%. But when you're trading a Kala, you're going to get this. That's the game. You know, it's just a question of where you want to be, and we help you find really both of them. But ideally, you want to be more here. That's why you do not see people at Trade Ideas focusing on the FANG stocks, the Facebooks, Amazons, and stuff like that. It's not like there's anything wrong with them, but people just can't afford a lot of Amazon typically. And look at the percentage move, 7 points. I mean, again, this is great if you're trading 10 shares or 50 shares or whatever, and you can do it. But you got to be glued to it like, you know, I don't even know what. But look at the percentage move, 0.92. Who cares? Whereas, look at this, 28 or 27 or even 3. And look at what it takes. I mean, this is why opportunity for the individual investors is here, not in the gigantic stocks. I mean, we're not, by the way, also saying that you should not have any of your money held by professionals. I have a 401k. I contribute to it. I am playing the Western civilization game. I'm in it. I'm a believer in Western civilization, and I am exposed to the market. But I've got a percentage of my portfolio where I'm looking to really do something. You know, 50, 60, 150. So let's jump into our artificial intelligence engine, the beautiful Holy Grail. Let me move some of this out of the way, get rid of some of these things, because when we're explaining it, it's almost better to have a little bit less than more. Okay, so all of these are algorithms or strategies, in other words, that our artificial intelligence decided yesterday would work today. What we mean by that, and this is the important part of what we're doing, is that we approach investing much like the behavioral analysis unit in the FBI approaches finding serial killers. We don't, you know, we have no idea where they're going to be, but we use behavior analysis to hypothesize where they might be. So how do we do that in the stock market? Well, what we do is we look at what happened in the past, and we're able to ask some questions. Brad, I'm going to give everybody a quick show of what that means and why it's pretty cool. And again, why also potentially everything that you know is wrong. So here is a stock called Breaking Out on Volume. Notice, what's it doing, Brad?
They're breaking out on volume.
Breaking out on volume. One of the things that, again, the Trade Ideas does, because we have history in our own servers, is we also can go back and see, well, what happened today? So I can really take a look. Look how good these things look. Yeah. They look really, really good, don't they, Brad?
They do.
And you can trade them. Man, I wonder what it'd be like if I could trade all of them. Well, this is where Trade Ideas technology really comes in and what separates us from the trade stations and everybody else. So we have an option for our premium subscribers where we say backtest. Okay, and let's say that I have another job. I'm on the West Coast, so of course I'm starting 30 minutes after the market opens to let it calm down. And because I'm a surgeon, I got to get back into surgery at 9 in the morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, if I buy these stocks that are breaking out on volume, how would I be doing? I can ask that question and have our software hypothesize for you by going back into our database and running some hypotheticals. 965 hypotheticals in about 15 seconds of your time. So that's kind of, you know how people say, well, you know, the way to learn is practice in 10,000 hours. I just did your 10,000 hours in a few seconds. That's our advantage. And what you found out is that in this particular case, and my exit was 30 minutes after, and I'll show you what I mean by that, timed exit 30 minutes, was just not a good idea. In other words, 30 minutes, you do not have any advantage. Well, what about an hour? So I can ask my computer kind of like, well, what should I be doing? How long should I be trying to do it? Still nothing. Brad, what about maybe I need to kind of be in it a little bit longer, maybe till the end of the day, till the close? How about 5 minutes till the close? Let's see what happens.
Or maybe you need to scrap it.
Well, this is the part where I really like to, again, point out the obvious. What our software just did, and you know, we've ran now close to 3,000 simulations, is it told you that things that look awesome to you on a chart actually don't work out. That's the problem with our human nature, and that's the problem with, you know, trying to visually simply just guess without having any statistical reference point. So what I'm going to do here is show you something that we hide during the day because space is a big constraint for users, but I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to the columns and I'm going to say win percentage and profit factor. So if you take a look at this, what you're going to see is the following. When our AI back-tested all of these strategies, it auto-learned and auto-created, as Igor was just pointing out in the question and answer section, via machine learning, what would be the best settings to capture statistical trends. And, let's go, whoops, sorry, 1 second. And whereas, on average, if you are guessing, the result is going to be the same result that I was just showing you previously, but I just want to do it for comparison's sake. Here we go.
I think something that might be cool, Dan, and I can do it or not, but I dropped it in your cloud, so if you were to open it, it would right be there, but it's the can't stop it optimized strategy, so you could give kind of a view of what a good strategy looks
Absolutely.
like, what Holly does to it.
I'll be more than happy to do it, but let me just show so that you can have kind of by comparison. First of all, notice how we display the data that you can put in your commissions slippage. By the way, that's crazy slippage of 10 cents. How about 2 cents? And now that they lowered their commissions, all the brokers, that's $6. Still, no good, okay? Look at the profit factor and success, 42 and 0.8. Look at what you're seeing our AI do. Win percentage, profit factor. So Brad was nice enough to go into my cloud, and Brad, can't stop it right here, and put this in. And by the way, so we have what's called the cloud. Everybody has access to, everyone has access to it, and I'm going to back test this and just show you what happens when, is this a buy or a sell?
This is a buy.
What happens when you use machine learning to figure out where the magic is? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a good strategy. If this doesn't impress you, I don't know what else will. Because again, there's nobody else that can do this. Nobody else in tech. Notice all these things that Brad just gave me. These are all internal settings that the computer made. You don't have to worry about it. All you need to do is know that at least now, when you see something here, like when something goes down like this, statistically speaking, you know that it has a high probability of possibly bouncing back. No guarantee, but at least you've got
Well, and to be fair, Dan, you were looking at a window there that was set wide open. That was a signal that generated right at the end of the day. Now, this
Right.
particular strategy has a window of opportunity during the day that it uses.
Right. But again, I don't want to get too far into the clouds. Just want to make sure people understand, what we're doing. So this is the strategies, and this is why you see them. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to showcase. And today, I'll just talk about what came across. So now I'm going to bring in. So this is your virtual analyst, and today was pretty active. It's not like this every day, but we'll kind of count them up. So this is, let me resort this by time. So this is sorted by time. In other words, as soon as it happened. Entry and exit, sometimes they're very quick because of stops. Things happen. News comes out. So here was one where, let me see, scroll back. We thought that 20, or at least the AI thought that 20 was right at that point where it would continue higher, but that didn't happen. So it also told you to quickly get out. That's the thing too, is it's not just get in. We give you the full trade management suggestion. It's like the hand holding. What would you do if you were statistically playing the market? Okay. Here's the second one, NTLA. And you can see what's happening, right? We're trying to catch the moves that potentially could be much more than just day trades. This is what I wanted to make sure everybody understood, is that every single stock that's being given to you by our virtual analyst, Holly, has long-term potential. That was always underneath the scenes. That's something that we designed from the get-go. You don't have to hold it a long time, and Holly will give you an entry and an exit in one day. But look at the trend, right? We're trying to find these reversals. So what happens is people then notice something that Holly does, and they set an alert. This is something that Barry is doing all the time in our trading room every single day. Say from the AI, looking good now. So what happens here is now when it really starts to go back up again, I can move it up even higher. Now I just changed my alert to this price. You get notified and you don't miss it. The whole point is just not missing it. Okay? SLF was the next one. CHRS. Here's again, look. See, we're trying to find these voids. So this is what it looks like to have a day in the life of the artificial intelligence, and the total amount of risk-off gains. And risk-on and risk-off is basically a measure of, do you allow for volatility or not? And while I don't want to explain it on the Q&A, we ad nauseum explain exactly what it is. So, Brad, let's real quick now jump into what's really cool about the new innovation that we brought to the table in Brokerage Plus and why it's so important to everybody here. So before, you would have to see an alert from the AI. It would come across, this window that's blank right now because the market's closed, and you have a choice of either following it or not. If you wanted to follow it, you would have to manually place your trade. Well, now, when you see an alert come in, and you'll see it exactly the time, you can simply right-click and send that to your interactive brokerage account. That's the beauty of it. We've made it possible for you to basically follow the AI with the least amount of clicking. There's nothing like that anywhere else. It's a virtual analyst, and you are following the virtual analyst. So you combine all of that. You combine the fact that we're the only consumer-facing artificial intelligence in the world as it relates to the individual investor. Add to that the fact that there is a trading room manned by Barry Anderson all throughout the day that showcases the best practices of what to do with trade ideas. Has a active community and support system that helps one another. And you've got the best case scenario. This is the best of all worlds for you. And Brokerage Plus, and this is the thing that I'm gonna minimize this and bring this back right here. Okay, so this is me actually using our own Brokerage Plus to showcase how it works during the day. So it's kind of like a mini version of the AI in essence. But the point that I wanted to make is that this is free right now. While this is in beta, for everybody that has our premium subscription, this is free. Let me reiterate, this is free. When this gets into a live production environment, which will probably happen within the next month or two, this will cost $1,088 a one-time fee to have access to Brokerage Plus. But it is free right now to the early adopters. So Randy, all the Holly performance metrics are available online. You can kind of go through them, and we, again, we have that data. It's all available to everybody. So Interactive Brokerage is a broker, so they don't link out to third-party brokers. You can't assign the trades. It's really mostly geared for individuals, although I think they are doing more institutional business too. So Igor, the holds for Holly are internal and dependent on the algorithm, but typically what Holly does is it's either the risk-off time period, in other words, the optimized time period, or the risk-on period, which is an all-day hold. Because the idea is if the market's running in your direction, you want to maximize your return and be able to hold it as long as possible. And we show you both options, and we also showcase, hold on one second, I switched the screen, but I'll reload it. And we show you which one is working right now. So today, it was a risk-off day, and what that means is you wanted to follow Holly as closely as she suggested. In other words, when you got into this VITA, when she said get out, you get out. So some of these, like in this case, this was just a risk avoidance thing. Like you, obviously, we would not expect anybody to really be in something for a minute, but because of the risk situation, we took our 25-cent hit very, very quickly because we just didn't know what else could happen, and sure enough, it ended up going lower, and it was down 50 cents if you had held it all day. Here we lost 5 cents. Had we held it all day, we would have made 19. And that's really what risk on and risk off are. So these were our kind of the best risk on trades. This one would have probably been more difficult to catch, but McDonald's, look at this thing. It's really starting to go. And again, the AI sees that. Same thing with IAC. The AI tries to, again, this one, again, would have been very hard, but since we're watching these rubber band stretches, we're pointing out, hey, something is up. And even if you miss this, you don't have to miss it if it goes right here. Simply say, I don't. And now you're all set. You're always connected with the AI. So yes, it tells you whether you stay in or whether you get out. But ultimately, guys, this and ladies, that's a decision that you have to make based on your own risk assessment. And so in my particular case, these are all positions that I'm actually still holding overnight. Why am I holding them? Well, look, I mean, kind of, it's hopefully a little bit self-explanatory. It looks like they're going. Love this one. Keep an eye on STML. Goodness gracious. In the void. No resistance. And your wounded water buffalo. So let me go back to our presentation real quick. And we're already at the hour. Man, it goes fast. Scott, are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, I can. Very engaged audience today. That's great. I think you've already mentioned it, but we do have Brokerage Plus beta version available for download, and that's at trade-ideas.com/beta for everyone that's interested in getting into that. That if you're an IB client and have access to premium, you can go ahead and check that out. Dan just showed off a lot of it. So get on that. You can also download a handout by clicking on the little plus sign next to where it says handouts on your GoToWebinar interface. And there's a PDF there for you to download. You can get links to download the beta, information about our sale, about our promo code, and contact info from that handout. So go ahead and help yourself to that. Something we've been promoting lately is our Trade Ideas podcast. We launched a podcast a couple of months ago, and it's been going strong. We have new episodes out every Friday. Most of them feature Dan Merkin and Jamie Hodge. We've also had Brad Williams, David Afariat, and some others on. So go ahead and subscribe. It's real easy. You can just search for Trade Ideas Podcast in any application that you use to get your podcasts. That could include iTunes. It could include Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. There's a bunch of other apps. Overcast is another one. I use that one. Just search for Trade Ideas Podcast and subscribe, and you'll get a new episode in your inbox in your podcast app on Friday afternoon, about an hour or two after the market closes. Listen to that over the weekend. Get some inspiration for the next week. So go ahead and sign up for that. We have a sale code. Yes to Holly, all caps, like you see it there. The number 2, yes to Holly. And that saves 15% off your first installment for Trade Ideas. So either first month or year of Trade Ideas Standard or Premium. And keep in mind that even Trade Ideas Standard includes a full hour of one-on-one training. When you do become a subscriber, to get that training, just click on support, go to the training section, and you will find a calendar app to select an available time and date with one of our educators. You can usually choose between Jamie Hodge, Steve Gomez, and Andy Lindloff, and they are all expert Trade Ideas gurus, and they will get you going, help you get set up the best way that suits your trading style. If you have any questions, email us at info@trade-ideas.com. We'll be sending out an email from the GoToWebinar system tomorrow around this time with a link to where to find the recording. Follow Dan Merkin at Trade Ideas 1 on Twitter. We also have at Trade Ideas, and we have a couple other of our staff on Twitter as well, and you can find them by following Dan, I'm sure. You go to facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro and like our page, and you'll get some additional content we post to Facebook only sometimes, and then you can share that out with your friends. Any questions
Scott,
or any help, email us info@trade-ideas.com. Yeah?
Scott, one last thing I just want to keep reminding that we have this basic hidden sale, which is when you sign up right now, you are getting Brokerage Plus for free.
Yeah, if you get premium, Brokerage Plus will be grandfathered into your premium subscription. That's correct. And like Dan mentioned, when we take it out of beta and put it in the official release, then we will be charging a little bit over $1,000 for it for the license to have the Brokerage Plus integration. So if you have any questions about this, just reach out by email. info@trade-ideas.com is the best place to send your questions. You can also get Dan directly, Dan@. And if you have a billing or subscription issue, you can call our 619 number during operating hours on the West Coast. But any technical questions, we suggest you send them to info@, and that gets routed to the appropriate team member to get you the right response. So thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dan and Brad and Barry and Andy and everyone that showed up. And we will have the recording up a little bit later. Thanks, guys.